Greetings folks, and welcome to another episode of The Pit of Doom. Today is the second video review I'm doing of a slasher movie, and I thought I would title this series Slasherama, even though it's not the greatest or most original title. To be fair, most of these films aren't. Now, in what is now retrospectively episode 1 of Slasherama, I spoke about the film Hell Night starring Linda Blair. Well, today we have something a little bit different. We have another fairly unheralded slasher, from the late 80s, early 90s, called Happy Hell Night. Definitely not to be confused with the Linda Blair starring film Hell Night. Now, Happy Hell Night is one of those unsung slashers that people often don't realise exists, and it has a couple of things that do make it stand out. Now, firstly, it came out in 1992, which was right at the end of the slasher boom, which realistically ran from 1978-ish with Halloween through to the early 90s with films like this, before there was the revival in 1996 with Scream and all the clones thereof. Now, Happy Hell Night, quite simply, is a fairly straightforward slasher film with a slightly supernatural theme, much like Hell Night. Now, quick rundown of the plot of this film. The film is about a psychopathic, probably demon-possessed priest called Zachary Malleus, who in 1963 murders 7 members of the Phi Delta Kappa fraternity inside the Winfield Mausoleum during a hazing prank gone wrong. Malleus is captured and then is locked away in the state asylum. 25 years later, a hazing prank again goes wrong, and this sees Zachary Malleus released from his cell. He heads back to Winfield College to continue his murderous revenge. Now, the film takes on a bit of a disjointed narrative here, mixing action that takes place in the film's current day with flashbacks to 1963 revealing what actually went on at the time. Interestingly, these flashback scenes featured the soon-to-be-a-star Sam Rockwell in one of his earliest film roles. Now, like all good slasher villains, Zachary Malleus has his own little catchphrase. And in this case, it is literally a catchphrase. It's not a signature kill, it's the catchphrase. He will usually kill somebody, and following the kill, he will say, no, and then whatever. So if people are having sex, it's no sex. You know, that kind of thing. Now, as I said, the film's narrative is a bit disjointed. Because of the flashback, present day, it can get a touch confusing at times, especially when the killer in both doesn't appear to have changed. Now, the supernatural element of the film obviously helps differentiate it somewhat from a lot of its peers, because, frankly, most slasher movies, unless you were watching the Nightmare on Elm Street or some of the later Friday the 13th, possibly the Halloweens when you get into the era where they're looking at the Curse of Thorn, avoid the supernatural quite a lot, even though it would help explain how most slasher killers are pretty much impervious to any kind of injury. Now, given its late entry into the market, the film actually boasts some pretty decent production values. You know, the film is mostly set at night, slasher movie, but it avoids the curse of a lot of cheap films set at night in that it doesn't look overly grainy or washed out. It has a pretty strong look to it. It's got some nice cinematography, and the gore effects are pretty darn good. I've certainly seen a lot worse, even in some bigger budgeted, more name films, you know. And our titular, well, not titular killer because his name isn't in the damn title, but the headline killer, Zachary Malleus, is a bloody creepy guy with his bald head and his sunken eyes and his creepy voice and mannerisms. He really, really is creepy, and to be fair, I think probably deserved at least one sequel, because spoiler alert, at the end of the film, he is still alive because, of course, all good slasher movie villains survive past the supposed killing of them at the end of the film by the final girl. Now, the version of the film I have, as I've already shown you, is on the British 88 Films release. Now, it's a pretty decent release. It's got some decent extras on here. You've got a lovely high definition transfer of the film from the original negative, so it looks as good as it's ever going to look. That also features some uncompressed LPCM stereo audio, which is, again, pretty decent. It's only 2-channel, but it is good. There are subtitles. There's an audio commentary by Nathaniel Thompson and Tim Greer of mondo-digital.com. There's an interview with actress Georgia Fox, an interview with the film's composer Nenad Bak, a trailer, and the sleeve is reversible. And I will show you this because the reverse of the sleeve shows you an alternative title that the film was released under. Frat Fright. This was a title it hit the British video shelves under, although it isn't the title that I know it as, because the first time I saw it was on a late night TV screening, I think it was on ITV, under the Happy Hell Night moniker. Oh, also, if you're really lucky, you get a booklet in your copy as well. Now, the extras are decent. You know, nothing spectacular, you know, no great making of documentary or behind the scenes gossip, but it is a decent little package, especially if you can get the disc cheaply. Now, it is still available, albeit not easy to get hold of, and I think I paid about £8 for my copy, so it's out there at a reasonable price. There is also a US release of it, which I think was on Code Red. I'm not sure how easy that is to get hold of or how much it would cost. Now, I'm going to score the film now. So, as a slasher movie, Happy Hell Night, let's say it's a solid 7 out of 10. It's certainly not up there with the best of the genre, like the original Halloween, the original Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, you know, the big boys of the slasher genre, but it's certainly better than a lot of the straight-to-video derivative nonsense that appeared in the late 80s. Its effects get a good solid 8, they are superb, and the package that I have from 88 Films also gets a solid 8. It is missing a couple of things that I would have liked to see, like a bit more in-depth behind-the-scenes material, but obviously for such an obscure film these things are very, very difficult for them to come across. So overall, I would say that this is a 7.5 out of 10 package, and it's definitely worth your time purchasing it. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, do hit the like button. If you've really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, and if you really, really, really enjoyed it, ring the bell to be notified of my next upload. There are a few other videos on this channel. You'll see there's some old videos where I analyse and introduce some trailers. There's some comparison videos to the Return of the Living Dead films on DVD and Blu-ray, but hopefully this is the second in a series where I am going to be looking at slashers. So, I'm Rob. This has been Slasherama on the Pit of Doom, and I will see you on the next video.